Hey guys, Juice here. I am here with a very exciting video for you guys today. Also, first off, before we start, I would like to say we're back to old school Drew. Who remembers me during my videos facing the bookshelves? Also, I just rearranged my bookshelf today, and don't they look marvelous in rainbow? Like, yes please. So yeah, hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Drew's Ambitious Reading, and yeah, I'm gonna tell you today's video. Today's video is a 5-star prediction wrap-up slash 5-star prediction list number 3. This will be my third list. I don't know why I did 5. This will be my third list of books that I've done on my channel. I'll leave the first 2 up above. I read all the books for the second list except one, so I want to talk about that real quick because this author is very controversial right now on the book community, even though I just bought his newest book, and he's one of my favorite authors, even though I haven't read this book yet, but I just checked out the audiobook of it from Overdrive, so maybe that will help me out. I do want to read this, but I just haven't yet, and that is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This one is on my September TBR for the month, and I am very excited to get to it finally. I had this on my shelf for years now, and I just know nothing much about this. I know it's very dark and gruesome and bloody, and it deals with an assassins and a boarding school. It says a ruthless young assassin starts a journey for revenge in book 1 of this new epic fantasy trilogy from the New York Times bestselling author Jay Kristoff. I read his Aurora Rising trilogy, which I cannot believe that's coming to an end this fall. I read his Illuminate trilogy that he co-wrote. I read Lifelike, and I loved that one, but I haven't continued on with that trilogy either. But the reason why I haven't read this book is because A, he has a lot of controversial right now, but I love him like, me personally, I love him as an author because he's just so down to earth. Like, he looks kind of like badass and scary to mess with, but like, he's so kind and generous. He always talks to me on Instagram. I mean, hell, he even sent me signed copies of his books. Let me see if I can grab them real quick. So, like, I think it was my 5-star prediction list number 2 that I sent him, which he actually watched. He saw that I mentioned Nevernight on my list, so I haven't read it, but he was so kind enough to send me the UK copies of his trilogy. So we have, of course, Nevernight. I believe God's Grave is next, and then Dark Dawn is the final book, and all 3 of these books are signed right here, so that's very cool that he sent them my way. So yes, I do have 2 copies of this series. Maybe I'll get to it this fall. I feel like the fall is the perfect time to read this spooky fantasy. I don't know if it's gonna be spooky, but these UK covers are just stunning and I love it. But thank you so much, Mr. Jay Kristoff. I cannot wait to read the Nevernight trilogy, and hopefully I will love it. I still think this will be a 5-star read for me, so let's just jump into my wrap-up portion. I will warn you right now, this will be a long video. I'm so sorry about that. So, as you know it, I read all of them but one. So, these are the books that I've chosen, and I'm going to go through them, give you my thoughts on them, and if they were a 5-star prediction or not. If you guess any of these right, please let me know down in the comments below. I would love to see that. So the first book on my list was Nevernight. We just talked about that. And then the next book on my list was The Guest List by Lucy Foyle. I actually just read this one this year over the summer, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, so it wasn't quite a 5-star. I kind of forgot why it wasn't a 5-star read for me. But overall, I really enjoyed it. It was such a fast-paced thriller, and I don't read a lot of thrillers that much anymore, but I definitely want to get into more thrillers. I actually bought a few tonight and they arrived today somehow. I also have a few more thrillers coming from the library and just from Book of the Month in general and all that. So the guest list, this deals with a married couple who has their wedding on this deserted island, and their lights go out during the wedding because there is a murderer happening. This is very hyped on BookTube. I don't really need to talk much about this one. I would say I wasn't a big fan of the audiobook. So maybe that's why it wasn't quite a 4-star read for me. But this was a very fast pace, and there are trigger warnings for this book. So there's trigger warnings for self-harm, murder, bullying, death, toxic relationship, drug use, suicide, blood violence, and emotional abuse. So those are the trigger warnings I found while reading this book, and I wanted to drop those down because I know I will talk about this soon. But for my second book on the list, this was a 4-star read for me. I'm gonna put them there. Old school Drew, that's what we're doing. The next book on my list was Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahern. I actually read this one last year. I read 2 of these books last year, and the rest of them I just read this year. That's how long it took me to do this. This one is definitely a 5-star read for me. I can't really say much about this one just because it is a sequel. There's a lot of sequels on this list that I noticed when I was going back and checking my video out. Yes, because I kind of got what was on my list. Blood and Honey was definitely one of my favorite books of 2020, and it was definitely a favorite sequel of mine. This follows a couple as well. This is the second book in the Serpent and Dove trilogy. I actually have book 3 on my shelf, TBR shelf over here. I just bought a new bookshelf, so I'll be showing that off soon. Anyways, very off topic. This follows Lou and Reed. Lou is the witch of the story, and Reed is the witch hunter, and Reed has to go and obviously deal with all these witches roaming around their city. But soon enough, as soon as Reed meets Lou, they instantly click and they fall in love and all that. So it's like a first love at sight kind of storyline. This is definitely an enemies to lover trope as well. And this one was a 5-star read for me. I just love how amazing the world was. The world building definitely did it for me in this one. And the reason why this one was a 5-star too was because that cliffhanger though. I won't say much about it, but if you read this book and want to talk about it with me, let me know down below. But this one was a 5-star, and I think there's one other 5-star read on this list. So yeah, I don't know what to say about that, but this one, Blood and Honey, 5-star, love it. The next book I read was The Firekeeper by J.C. Cavents. I finally read this book. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know I keep mentioning this book on my channel a whole lot. So yeah, I really enjoyed this sequel. Again, it's a sequel. It's the second book in the Storm Runner trilogy by J.C. Cavents, obviously. This is part of the Rick Riordan Presents imprint, so this is on Voices for the Latinx community, which is Latinx Heritage Month as I'm filming it. So I really enjoyed it. This one was hilarious. I was laughing out loud a lot in this one just because we meet this new character that I don't want to say his name just because I feel like it's a spoiler, but the shopped guy is what I'm going to call him. He was so funny. We follow our main character named Zane Obicio. He is your average kid with a cane because one of his leg was broken or something like that. I can't remember exactly, even though I just read this last month. But he finds out he has these godly powers. If you love Percy Jackson, I definitely recommend this for my younger readers out there. The audiobook narrator for this was hilarious as well. I felt like he was like the perfect Zane in my head. And I just love Rosie. Rosie in here, who, if you don't know, is our dog slash animal companion in here. Rosie was there. I love that. There's a lot of villains and heroes that you meet throughout this book. I actually completed this trilogy this year, and I will do a series review for you guys if you would like that. But this one I did give a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So it wasn't quite a 5-star, it was like a 4.5, but I really had a hard time choosing if this was a 4-star or a 5 stars. So 4.5 is really good rating. So definitely check out this trilogy. I loved all 3. I think book 3 is my favorite though, if I had to pick which one is my favorite. The fourth book on my list, sorry I lost count, was Starsight by Brandon Sanderson. This one I won't be talking much about either because, like I said, I read this one last year and I don't really remember much of it. But overall, I remember really enjoying it. This deals with our main character named Spencer, where one day she finds out her father passed away in a very dangerous spacecraft. I wouldn't say car crash, but it's not really like a car crash. It's more of a spaceship crash, I guess. This is a sci-fi series by Brandon Sanderson, and I really enjoyed the first 2 books of this. If I had to choose which of my favorite Brandon Sanderson book, it would probably be The Final Empire, which is book 1 of his Mistborn series. Overall, I really enjoyed it. This one did take a little longer for me to read just because it is a sequel, and I haven't read Skyward in like 2 years, so it's been a while since I read the first book. But I read this last year. I actually buddy read this with my friend Heather, and we both had the same thoughts and feelings while reading it. So overall, I gave this one a 4 stars, and I'm not going to talk much about it because it is a sequel. The next book I have is an owlcrate book, and this one I was so disappointed by because this book is so pretty, and that is Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angels. This is the first book and by the author, and in a series. This is actually going to be a duology, so book 2 comes out this October actually, and I already have that pre-ordered. I say pre-ordered because I bought the owlcrate edition to match this one. I'm debating if I want to keep these though once I read book 2, because I wasn't a big fan of this. This was actually my lowest rating read on this list. If you can't tell, this has no dust jacket on it at all. This is compared to the Night Circus and Carval a lot, but I feel like Carval is better than this book, but that's just my opinion. I don't really know how to describe this book to you guys. I'll just read you the letter. It says, "Dear reader, I am so excited to be part of this month's spectacular box. Now that you have your ticket to the show, it is time to dim the lights, raise the curtain, and set the scene for you all. Phantom of the Opera, Moulin Rouge, The Night Circus is the glittering pitch for Where Dreams Descend. I adore all those comps, but there's even more meaning behind the inspiration for me. I was always the reader who longed to be in a romantic fantasy world, dancing across a ballroom in gorgeous gowns with magic glittering in the air." So yeah, it's a Phantom of the Opera inspired story, and I don't know if it's because I haven't read a Phantom of the Opera that I didn't really enjoy this one, but the writing was just okay. I will be picking up the sequel just to see how this duology ends, but this was a 3 stars for me, and I'm so sad because look how gorgeous this is. Okay, and then the last book on this list is definitely an auto by author and one of my favorites. I gave this book a 5 star. I'm already going to tell you my rating before I forget, and that is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Last Hour trilogy. This one has also been on my shelves for years now, ever since it first came out. I buddy read this with my friend Taylor, and I loved this. I can't remember if Taylor read this one yet, or if she hasn't yet, but Taylor, if you're watching this, you should read it. I also just recently read Chain of Iron, which you can't really see anymore, but it was on the shelf right there. I read both Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron back to back, and that was just like the perfect reading experience for me, just because I didn't have to wait so long for Chain of Iron. I believe I started reading this in like April, and then book 2 came out in like May or June. I can't remember exactly, but it came out this year. I read both of these. Both of these are fantastic books. Both of them are actually 5-star reads for me. And yeah, this, if you don't know, this will follow our main character named Cecilia Castria. Um, it's been a while since I read this one as well. I want to say I read this, like I said, I read this in April, so it's been a while. There was a lot of twist and turn. We meet a few familiar characters that we met already from previous series in here, and there was just so much actionness in here. There was so much romance in here, which if you know Cassie Clare, you know she loves her romance, and so do I. Even though this is such a big book and the biggest book on this list, I think, I flew through this in like 2 or 3 days just because of the audiobook was amazing. This is going to be in my top 10 or top 21 books of 2021. I just know it. Maybe even it will be up in the top 10. And yeah, I'm just so happy I read this. I'm not going to say much about this one, but this is the starting of a new series. And I cannot wait for book 3. Comes out next year, hopefully, if it doesn't get pushed back. But yeah, that was the final book I read, and it was a 5 stars. So sadly, only like 2 of these had a 5-star rating for me. So I'm hoping my next list will be even better. I have more books than just 7. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos coming from me soon. Turn your notification on so you don't miss anything. Hit the like button, and I'll chat with you guys down in the comments below. Let me know if you read any of these books and what you thought of them. And yeah, just let me know what you think will be a 5-star read. So thank you so much for watching this wrap up, and I'll chat with you guys in my 5-star prediction list number 3. Thank you guys so much. Hope you have a great day or night, and be kind to one another. Bye.